And we're live. Welcome back to today's national weather forecast. We've got a lot to talk about today. We've got the last effects of Winter Storm Orlena moving up through the northeast throughout the day today. Still a foot of snow to be dropped in some places. On the west coast, we have a new system over us right now that's going to continue to drop some rain and snow over Washington, Oregon, and California. And then once that moves through, it's going to reorganize and hit the Midwest, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Southeast all at the same time. So we've got a lot to talk about. As always, if you're only interested in the region where you live or one of these stories, you can find the timestamps in the time bar below to go directly to the weather story that you want to hear about. And again, that's after the live stream, if you're watching this after this has been uploaded. So, where should we start? Let's start by looking back at the precipitation, what we have going on across the country. You can see Winter Storm Orlena continuing to move up through the northeast. It's going to keep dropping some snow throughout the day today. Heavy snow over Maine and New Hampshire later this afternoon into tonight. And then in the west, we've got that rain and snow we were just talking about. Idaho and Montana going to get some decent snow with that one too. And then the western parts of Oregon and very northern California. Then that seems to be reorganizing in the middle of the country as it starts to pull in some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, pulls down from some cold air, and then it's going to hit the Midwest, drop some great snow over Wisconsin and Michigan. As of right now, I don't think it's going to be a major snowstorm for the Midwest, but maybe 6 feet to possibly a foot in some locations. At least as of right now, the Winter Storm Severity Index doesn't have that one as a major storm yet. And then you can see there's this strip of heavy rainfall that's just going to stretch all the way from Texas up into Ohio later this week. So that's getting into Thursday and Friday. And then it looks like the tail end of that is also going to hit the northeast as well. So lots to talk about. Always lots going on in the weather across the United States. Good thing to look at first is where we have warnings. You can see winter storm warnings still in place over the west. I expect those to continue at least as long as that system is right over us. You can see it's right over us right now. Looking out my window, there is definitely some rain falling. In the middle of the country, we still have that fog warning. And then the real exciting weather, our top story for the day, that's in the northeast. That's with Winter Storm Orlena. And you can see that we even have some winter storm warnings all the way down into Tennessee and North Carolina. So we're going to take a look at why those are there as well. Big impacts today. I'd say the top location in the U.S. to watch would be Maine. That's the top state seeing exciting weather today. But you can see it is a warning, so there are things to worry about. Now, it seems like every snowstorm these days is called a major snowstorm. So what I've done is I found this great index that basically tells you how severe the storm actually is going to be. So if we zoom in to the west right now, you can see that the system over us is minor to moderate. It's certainly nothing like Winter Storm Orlena that we had last week, where we had extreme all the way through the Sierras and we were getting over 10 feet of snow. This is more just your average storm. It's minor to moderate. The one that's going to be hitting the Midwest, same story. Minor, possibly moderate in some places. And then as we go to the northeast, you can see there are some locations still to see major impacts. You can see New York is mostly in that moderate range in select locations. Maine is really the only place in the northeast that still has those major impacts. So what does that mean? That means extensive property damage is expected, and there are some threats to safety. I would say the biggest reason for that is the combination of the heavy snow still to come mixed with the extreme winds that we're going to be seeing there. Gusts over 50 to 60 miles per hour. So that kicks up all the snow that's falling, drops visibility to zero. That's where driving conditions can get dangerous. So you can see we do still have major impacts with Winter Storm Orlena. It's so funny that I'm still talking about Winter Storm Orlena because that's the system I was talking about all last week for the West Coast. California, 15 inches of rain, 10 feet of snow. I know I've said that in every single forecast video. It's just because I'm still pretty excited that that happened. Because, one, California is in an extreme drought, so all that precipitation really helps. And two, weather is just kind of awesome. So that's probably one of the biggest storms we'll have this year. So I'm still pretty happy about it. Again, obviously weather does have its side effects, as you can see. So when it comes to those, always go to your local resources because they'll tend to emphasize the whole safety aspect more than I usually will, because these storms are exciting for me. So as we transition and just look at where the precipitation is going to fall throughout the day today, that's what it's going to be looking like over the next 24 to 36 hours. You can see that system in the west dropping rain and snow here, and then the system up in the northeast. It's really the northwest and northeast that have the exciting weather today. Now that's going to change later in the week though, as that system over the west right now spreads out, and you can see covers, basically gives some precipitation to the entire eastern half of the country later this week. Now when it comes to the snow, it's a similar story. Northwest, northeast, especially up in Maine though. That's our state of the day right there. And then watch as this system over the west spreads out into the plains, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho. You guys all get some good snow with this one. And then it looked like it was going to drop down and move right over the mid-Atlantic, but it actually takes a turn and moves up into the Midwest, bringing some decent snowfall amounts up to states like Wisconsin and Michigan. Now it'll be interesting to see if this storm severity map right here that's just showing minor impacts for the Midwest, it'll be interesting to see if that transitions into moderate and major as that snow really starts to fill in. Because you can see we're going to be getting maybe 6 inches to over a foot in some places. So I'll be sure to keep you guys updated with that. Now, what's going on with that big system over the northeast? That's the big storm that we're talking about today. That's the one dropping the most snow today that we are just looking at. Well, there's another thing it's doing. Because of the circulation here, it's pushing all this cold air down. So imagine around a low pressure system, it's counterclockwise. So on the right side, that's what's pushing all this moisture into the northeast. And then on the left side of this low, it's pulling all this cold air down. You can actually see that take place right there as we get temperatures into Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia below freezing. And then what that does in the northeast, with it pushing in, let's see if we can even zoom in here so you can see it even better. With it pushing in the moisture and then pulling down the cold air, that's where you get the perfect combination, and you get over a foot of snow like we've seen with Winter Storm Orlena over the last 24 hours and for the next 24 hours. Now the winds are a story there. I'm going to show a wind map later in this video where you'll see there are some 50 to 60 mile per hour gusts moving throughout the northeast throughout the day today. So this is the overall pattern that's driving everything. You can see it's a pretty cool pattern. It's just this giant ridge over, for the most part, the west, and then a giant trough for the entire eastern half of the country. That's Winter Storm Orlena there. And you'll see it's moving right up the coast. Earlier models had it way off into the Atlantic. Only Massachusetts was getting any snow. But as it turned out, it decided to move right up the coast, which dropped over a foot of snow for Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, even Vermont, New Hampshire, and then Maine today will get over a foot as well. So that's the overall pattern. You can see this other trough that's currently moving in through the west, raining right now in California, Washington, and Oregon. And something interesting is going to happen with this trough. Now, I was talking about this yesterday, and it looks like it's actually going to happen because as you get closer to the actual event, the confidence of the models increases. So watch what happens right here to this trough. The entire bottom of it breaks off. So in earlier models, this trough was staying intact and it was just going to move right over California. So Southern California was going to get some rain and snow with this storm system as well. Well, as it turns out, the entire bottom of the trough is breaking off and then moving off into the Pacific. So all of Southern California looks like it's going to be missing out on this storm because the bottom of the storm system breaks off and moves off into the Pacific. I thought that was a pretty interesting thing. What's going to be even more interesting is what happens to this little system. Does it just move off? Does it come back and hit Southern California? Yesterday, that's what the model was showing. As of today, it looks like it's just going off into no man's land. So then we can also follow this trough as it moves through the rest of the country. That's where it starts dropping some snow to the plains, and then it's going to jump back up north and hit the Midwest right there. But then you can see how large this trough is. That's a good way to describe it. That rain band, remember, it stretched all the way from Texas up into the Northeast. So this is going to have major impacts for basically the entire eastern half of the country as we work into the later parts of this week. Now, the other thing, that big trough and that big ridge, let's just go back to the beginning right here. The overall pattern right now, what that does is also affect your temperatures. You can see, for the most part, below average on the eastern half, above average in the western half of the country. And that's going to continue to be the case as that trough continues to move through. And then later in the week, this is an interesting story we're going to have on, as we get to Wednesday, Thursday, the western half's going to be below average. Eastern, or I should say, western third will be below average. Eastern third, below average as well. And then the middle of the country could see temperatures 30 degrees above average. And then, just like all weather moves from west to east, those above average temperatures will start to spread out. Look at that perfectly defined front right there with that storm. So that'll spread out with that storm that'll be moving into the Midwest later. And then it looks like we're going to have, this is very far off from the forecast, so take this with a grain of salt, but it looks like there's going to be a blast of Arctic air towards this weekend. So enjoy the above average temperatures while you can, because it looks like there's some 25 to 30 degree below average temperatures moving into the upper middle of the country towards this weekend. So that's what's going on in the national overview. Now it's time to just start diving into our regions. And since weather moves from west to east, we'll start with the west here. We'll take a look at this system that's moving through Washington, Oregon, and California as I record this video. So you can see, for the most part, rain right now. It's a little warmer than it was supposed to be yesterday. So more precipitation is falling as rain than was originally forecasted. We're originally going to see a little more snow here. So you can see that continues throughout the day today. And then there's almost a second little part of this system. That's the story with this one. It has the first little blast we're seeing right now, and then an even stronger blast coming in early Wednesday morning. And then that's a quick one. That's just going to move through very fast because it's the second part of the system. I'll show you in a second. Here's that trough moving through. There's the bottom of it breaking off and just moving off into the Pacific. But watch closely, as right here, this is about right now into this afternoon. That's the first part of the system. And then this little back end is that second little punch we get. And you can see it's going to be quick and then it's gone. So that's the second part of the system that will be coming through later on Wednesday. Then I'll show you the exact timing in a second. First, let's just dive into the overall region. What's going on? You see rain as of right now, got some snow in the Sierras, and then we'll see when that finally starts to dissipate, kind of weaken as we get into tonight. It almost seems like the storm is gone and starting to move into Nevada, and then there we get that little second punch where we get some heavier rain, heavier snow. That's where we could see more of the impacts with this system. So then you can see that is a quick mover. That's what's going to be over us tomorrow. Get some rain in the Bay Area, some snow up in Northern California, but it's really isolated to the north because remember, the whole bottom part of it broke off and went into the Pacific. So that's why really only Northern California is going to be seeing that one. And then it moves off to our other states throughout the west. So if we actually look at the snowfall accumulations that we're going to be getting, that's the first part of the system. You can see we've already gotten over a foot of snow with this system in select locations in Northern California. You can see another 6 to 8 inches is going to fall over the next 24 hours. And then when we get that quick second punch, some locations could be getting up over a foot to possibly even 2 feet of snow up in Northern California. But I think to sum up the storm, it's isolated to Northern California because the whole bottom of the system just got chopped off. That's a good way to think about it. And then the other way to sum up this system is it moves farther north. So Orlena dipped down here, gave Arizona a bunch of snow. This one is more moving straight up into the Midwest. So you can see the other states picking up snow with this one will be Nevada, Utah, just getting maybe 4 to 6 inches, not all that much because it is a quick mover. So as we dive into the local, we're just going to be looking at Northern California because Southern California isn't really getting anything with this. Central California could pick up a little rain, but certainly nothing like the rain we had last week with Orlena, where San Luis Obispo is getting 15 inches of rain. So you can see, let's go into early this morning. That heavy rain in the South Bay, I was definitely feeling that this morning. And then heavy snow throughout the Sierras. And then here's where we get into around 10 a.m. later this morning. You can see the storm already appears like it's starting to weaken a little bit, except for maybe the eastern parts of the state where we still have some heavy rain and snow. And then that's where it really starts to weaken. By tonight, that's where it seems like the storm is done, but then we start getting the first traces of that second little blast that's going to be coming through. So that's going to be 4 a.m. on Wednesday. That's where we get that heavy rain along the coast and then some heavy snow. That's about 0.1 to 0.2 inches per hour snowfall rate. And then that is going to spread out through California, or Northern California, throughout tomorrow morning. So that's where we'll start to see some rain and snow. We'll see how much we actually end up getting in the Bay Area. I'm thinking we'll pick up a little, but certainly nothing like we were used to last week. And then that just moves off and it's gone. So the big story about that second little blast is it's quick. It comes in about 4 a.m. and by 10 p.m. it's completely gone. Unlike Orlena, which sat over us for 5 days straight. So if we look at some of the precipitation we've already been picking up, about a half an inch already this morning, and then throughout the rest of the system, including that second little punch, these are the totals we're going to be seeing. You can see the coast of very Northern California, that's where we get the heaviest rainfall. Inch up in Eureka. Some locations could be getting 2 to 3 inches of rain. And then parts of San Francisco and the South Bay, you could be getting up over an inch of rain in total with this system. So it's nothing major, but it's kind of nice. We had our major storm last week. Now we can just pile on some extra precipitation, help with the water supply, help with the fire danger. That's just seems like it's always a threat in California. And then also help with the extreme drought as well. So overall, average storm, and we'll take it. It's given us some good rain and snow that California seems to always need. So when we take a look at the snow, this is what's expected over or throughout the day today. You can see, we could be picking up another foot in the Sierras and parts of Northern California. And then as that second blast comes through, that's where we get more snow up in the very northern parts of California, Oregon border right there. Probably getting up to 2 feet of snow in some locations. And then, again, that's a quick mover. As soon as it's here, then it's gone. So that's basically what's going on in California. We've got this nice little system coming in. It's coming in 2 different little batches. We're enjoying the first batch right now, some rain and snow. And then that second little punch, let's just get the exact timing of it. Exact timing is 4 a.m. tomorrow morning to about 4 p.m. tomorrow. That's the bulk of that storm right there. So the next region I want to talk about is the Midwest, and the weather that's going to be driving the Midwest throughout this week really is starting with that storm we were just talking about that's affecting California, Washington, and Oregon right now. So watch this system as it starts to move through. It's going to bring some snow to the plains right here, and then as it starts to bring in some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, bring down some cold air from the Arctic, that's where it's going to strengthen and hit the Midwest on Thursday. So the timing of this is still a little questionable. I'm thinking Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. If I had to put my money on it, I'd say about 12 o'clock on Thursday, we might start really feeling the strength of this storm. As you can see, snow building in through the Midwest. It's going to be moving a little more northerly than Winter Storm Orlena did. You can see with Orlena, we picked up some great snow in Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. This one's moving a little farther north, so the snow is isolated to Wisconsin, Michigan, some parts of Illinois, but majority of the South Midwest will be in that rain category there. And then that's going to move off and up into Canada as we work into the weekend. So if we want to take a look at that system, it's right there. That's what's bringing some rain and snow to the west right now. That's going to move into the center of the country, start to bring in that moisture. You can see it pulling down that cold air, and then it hits the Midwest right there. That's where we're gonna be getting some decent snow. I'm still unsure if I want to call this one a major snowstorm. I think it's a possibility, but as of right now, our totals are looking more like 6 to 8 inches. We'll see if we can get up into that foot range. So then that's going to move through, and then behind it, this is also a big part of the story. Behind that system, we're going to have some very cold air being pulled down into the Midwest and the center of the country. As we saw on the temperature anomaly map, 25 to 30 degrees below average. Let's see if I can just find that map again, because that is a good one to show. That's what we're talking about right there. That's getting into the weekend. That cold air, 30 degrees below zero, will start to move in. Wow, 35 below throughout the entire Midwest as we get into Sunday especially. So that is definitely a key part of the story to keep our eye on as we move through the week and the forecast models get more confident with that. So if we want to see this storm another way, there's that low right there. This is a little far into the future. This is tomorrow night after the storm has already moved out of the west. And you can see what it's going to do here. It moves in right over Kansas and Oklahoma City, starts to pull in this moisture and pull down that cold air. I love showing this map because it just perfectly illustrates how these winter storms work. And then at first, I was talking about this, it looks like it's just going to be moving straight into the mid-Atlantic, bring some great snow and cold air down to West Virginia and Virginia, and then it jumps up into the Midwest. So you can see it's still bringing in moisture, still pulling in cold air, but now it's getting even stronger. Now you can see those isobars starting to tighten. I won't get too sciencey there, but that basically just means the storm's getting stronger. And then you can see that cold air start to pull in behind it. And let's actually just go all the way into the weekend to see that Arctic blast come in. Yeah, it's that purple air right there as we got 35 below average throughout Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, and most likely the entire Midwest is going to be feeling that one once it comes in. So with this system, we're going to be getting some good rain and snow. Let's go back right here to show Ohio is actually still picking up some snow from Winter Storm Orlena. The very trailing effects, it's light snow, and we're seeing that throughout this morning. But as we get later into this afternoon and tonight, then that's finally gone. Orlena done impacting the Midwest. Then we don't really have any precipitation to worry about, even have like a little high pressure sitting over us Wednesday. And then we start to see the first traces of this new system pushing in Wednesday night to early Thursday morning. Now, by maybe 4 a.m. on Thursday, that's where the snow actually starts to build into Iowa, Wisconsin. And then, again, the story with this one, I'm calling it a more northern storm because it's going to be giving rain to majority of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, snow to the more northern parts of the Midwest, like Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Michigan. So right there, that's where we're getting, the storm has strengthened, it's pulled down the cold air, it's pushed up the moisture, and we're getting some great snow rates. And then it even strengthens some more, dropping some heavy snow throughout Thursday over Wisconsin, Michigan, and parts of Illinois and Iowa. So the bulk of it, so let's see, when it first comes in, that's about 4 a.m. on Thursday. You can see it's over Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin mostly. Then it's a fast mover. It's going to move through. It's already starting to hit Michigan for the majority of the impacts over Michigan by Thursday evening. And then it's gone. So it's going to be a quick mover. The exact timing, again, Thursday morning to Friday afternoon. So it's a fast storm. So if we want to see the accumulated snowfall with this, that's what we're still going to be getting with Winter Storm Orlena over Ohio. Not much, maybe another inch or two. And you can see West Virginia there too, maybe getting 2 to 4 inches down there with the trailing effects of Orlena. Then we get nothing throughout the day Wednesday, and then as we build into Thursday, that's where we start to pile up the snow. So you can see just what I was talking about, how this is a more northern storm. Majority of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, that's from Orlena. Don't associate that with this new system coming in. That's where we're getting rain. Right along this border is where we have to worry about freezing rain and ice. And then in Wisconsin and Michigan, that's where we're getting some great snow with this, 6 to 8 inches. We'll see if we can pick up a foot in some places. That'll certainly be something to watch. So then if we want to take a local look, let's take a look at Wisconsin today, because that's where the majority of this storm is going to be hitting. And you can see the first little bit, 6 a.m. on Thursday, starts to move in as freezing rain. So commuting Thursday, that's where you might have to watch out on the roads, as the cold air hasn't been pulled down yet. So that's where instead of snow, you're getting some freezing rain. So that's where the roads can get a little dangerous. But then the snow is going to quickly pile in 12 p.m. on Thursday. That's where, except for that little spot right there, all of Wisconsin is going to be enjoying some snow throughout Thursday afternoon. Then as we work into Thursday evening, 6 p.m., that's where the storm has really strengthened. It's really tightened up, grown in intensity. That's where we start getting some heavier snowfall over parts of eastern Wisconsin like Green Bay. And then, like I said, it's a quick mover. By 12 a.m. Friday, we're just getting the last effects, some light snow, and then it's gone. So really just a Thursday storm right there. You can see it comes in 6 a.m. Thursday. By 6 a.m. Friday, it's gone. So if we want to look at the accumulated snowfall with it, you can see not much throughout the next couple days, but then as that starts to move in, we really start to pile up some accumulations. Green Bay getting 7 inches. And again, this is a Thursday storm, so it is still a couple of days off. We're going to have to continue to watch this to see how the models change, because weather models, a lot can change over the course of a couple of days. So be sure to stay tuned to see if this does in fact turn into a major snowstorm. As of right now, I'm thinking more moderate, but we'll see what happens. And we'll also see how the storm performs for the west, because I always think that's a good indication of what it will do for later parts of the country. And looking out my window right now, it's drizzling. It's not raining that hard, so I'd say moderate snowstorm is my call for the Midwest as of right now. So the next location I want to dive into is the Mid-Atlantic. We're saving the Northeast for last because that's our top story for the day. That's the most exciting weather we have to talk about. For the Mid-Atlantic, there's some exciting stuff going on too, though. We got some snow continuing to fall over West Virginia, Virginia, even some parts of Tennessee as Winter Storm Orlena moves up the East Coast. So we'll take a look at how much snow we're going to be getting there, and then watch this next system. This is really what we're going to be diving into. This next system that's over the west right now moves into the middle of the country. Then it starts to bring in some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, bring down some cold air, and then that's what's going to be hitting the Mid-Atlantic on Friday, and then even working into our weekend a little bit. So that's going to be some heavy rain. We'll see how north that storm ends up moving. If it pushes a little farther south, again, this is Friday, so weather models will change. If it pushes a little farther south, who knows, we could get some more snow to pile on to what we've already gotten in the Mid-Atlantic. But as of right now, you can see mostly rain for the mid-Atlantic with that next system that'll be pushing in Friday into Saturday. So if we want to look at that another way, there's Winter Storm Orlena right there moving up the east coast. That's what's bringing down this cold air. We're below average temperatures throughout the mid-Atlantic and throughout the Midwest and Northeast for that matter as well. So that one's going to move off. And then this next little system is following in behind it. And look how long this stretches. It goes all the way from Texas up to Maine. So it's right along this front right here. That rain is mostly going to be isolated, moving right over the mid-Atlantic into this weekend. And then we'll have to see what happens here. It almost looks like it reorganizes and then hits again, but with even a little more strength. But again, that's not till next Sunday, so I'll wait to dive into that part of the forecast. Let's just look at that snow that we're continuing to get right now. You can see Tennessee picking up a little bit of snow. We got Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia, all getting some light snow with Winter Storm Orlena that's still moving up the coast. You can see it's going to be sticking around throughout this morning, and then by the time we move later into this afternoon, that's where the snow starts to ease up. Select locations get a couple flakes, but then for the most part, it's gone. So light snow throughout the day today. That's your big weather story for today. And then we have a high pressure moving over. Not much going on throughout the day. Wednesday and then getting into Thursday. And then here's that new system pushing in. You can see there's no name for this system yet. We'll see if it gets a name, if it turns into a major storm. But you can see this is Thursday evening. We might start to feel the first little rain effects of this. And then that's where it really strengthens. That's as we get into Thursday night, early Friday morning. That's where we're going to be getting this heavy rain, maybe 0.2 to 0.5 inches per hour, just stretching right along the region, moving over the region almost like a wave. It's a perfect illustration of what a front looks like right there. It's just stretching, and then it moves over the entire region like a wave throughout your day Friday, and then it's gone. It's a quick mover. You can see it really picks up some energy as it moves off the coast right there. So if we want to look at the accumulated snowfall that we're still going to be getting with Orlena, it's actually decent. We're going to be getting 2 to 4 inches more in West Virginia on top of what we've already picked up. You can see right along that Tennessee, North Carolina border, another inch or 2 of snow. So it's something. It's nothing major, but certainly something to point out. And then with that next system, you can see it's isolated up north. That's what we're going to be watching later in the week to see if it takes a more southerly track. That's where the mid-Atlantic could get some impacts there. Let's take a more local look at that snow that's continuing to fall right now. This is early this morning. So this actually isn't right now. I wanted to show what fell this morning, continuing to get that snow over West Virginia. And then as we get into 1 p.m., that's where the system starts to finally move off the northeast, getting the last little effects from Orlena throughout North Carolina, select locations in West Virginia, and then we're in the clear throughout the day Wednesday, and then Thursday night at 7 p.m. That's where we start to feel the first effects of this new system coming in. We're getting some more snow in West Virginia and Virginia, and then you can see that's about it when it comes to the snow with this one. Because this system's moving so far north, south of it, it's pulling in that warm air from the Gulf of Mexico, but it's also pulling in moisture. And you can see the effects of the moisture right there. That rain just spreading out across the entire region early Friday morning and then working into Friday afternoon. By the time we get to Friday night, the system's almost completely gone. North Carolina getting the last little effects. And then late Friday night, the system's completely gone. So it'd be interesting to see how much rain we're going to be picking up. That's mostly snow right there, so ignore that for this map. But you can see it's not a major storm. It's over California right now, and I can tell you, at least for us, it's not that major of a storm right now. So as of right now, it looks like it's just going to drop some light rain, but it's over the entire region. Everybody getting maybe 0.2 to 0.4 inches. Select locations could be getting up to half an inch. But overall, just your average winter storm moving through. And then when we look at the snowfall for the next 24 hours, that's what's still expected to come. Just a more local look into West Virginia, select locations 2 to 4 inches, and then this Tennessee, North Carolina border 1 to 2 inches. So that's what's going on. The real exciting parts of the Mid-Atlantic forecast will most likely be happening later in the week as that system develops, and who knows, it might come south and might bring some more snow to the Mid-Atlantic. We'll have to keep our eye on it. But as of right now, looks like that second system will just be a light spread of rain over the entire region. So the next spot I want to take a quick look is the southeast down here. You can see not much going on in the southeast over the next couple of days, but as that system moves off from the west and into the center of the country, it's going to start pulling in some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. And what happens, what we see when that happens is that moisture just spreads out over all of the southeast. So we're going to be getting some heavy rain as we work into Thursday night and Friday morning, and that is just a perfect illustration of what a front looks like. That's just going to spread across the southeast throughout the day Friday. So that's really our next exciting weather for the southeast. And then as we get into this next weekend, we're going to have to keep our eye on this low right here because that looks like it could get exciting. But that's a ways off in the forecast. I'll wait to dive into that part of the system. So looking at it another way, you can see this is the low pressure system, trough, whatever you want to call it, that's going to be moving across the country throughout this week. And then right there is where it starts to affect the southeast. That's where it's pulling in all that moisture. And then right along that band right there is where our front's going to be. And you can see it moves across the southeast. That is the second part of the system that we have to keep our eye on. So moving back right there, you can see the first part brings some rain, but nothing too major. This is what we have to keep our eye on for the southeast as that system almost doubles down. It strengthens again. It reorganizes itself. And then that is where we could see some major impacts towards next weekend. But we'll have to keep our eye on that. That's a ways off in the forecast. Who knows what's going to happen there. One other big part of the southeast story is your temperatures because of Winter Storm Orlena. Now, it seems weird that Winter Storm Orlena would be affecting the southeast because it's basically as far north on the east coast as you can get, and we're talking about the south part of the eastern half of the country. But as you can see, the low pressure system up here has counterclockwise winds around it, which brings that cold air down on the left side of the low. So let's back it up. You can see how that works, and then you can see that it's bringing in below freezing temperatures into Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia throughout early this morning. But as that low moves off, that's where it starts to weaken, and then it starts to pull those cold temperatures down again Wednesday morning. That's where we're still feeling the effects here. Looks like all of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia below freezing tomorrow morning. And then as that low moves off, watch what happens to the temperatures. They start to rise up again. So that's just a little illustration. And it's also a good way to look at this next system that's going to be moving through. That's that moisture getting pulled up into it. That's the moisture that's going to be affecting the southeast over Thursday night into Friday. So if we want to actually look at that precipitation, because this is the best thing to look at, you can see not a lot happening until Thursday evening. Then that front starts to organize, and right here, that's where it's just the perfect illustration of a front. Heavy rain stretching from Louisiana through the central parts of Mississippi, Alabama, up into Tennessee, and that's just going to move through the region like a wave. Light rain, nothing too major. It's a quick mover, and it doesn't drop too much, especially over Georgia and South Carolina. So nothing too big with that one. The one we have to watch is when that same system reorganizes and then causes that. So that's where we could get some flash flooding, some heavy rain. So we'll have to keep our eye on that. Looking at the precipitation that we're going to get with that first little wave that comes through, You can see it's nothing major, maybe 0.2 to 0.4 inches throughout Mississippi, Alabama, and then select locations in Georgia and Florida could be picking up half an inch to an inch of rain. And then that's that second system. If it ends up coming in, that's where we could be getting over 3 inches of rain. But that's a ways off in the forecast. To find out what actually ends up happening with that, you'll have to stay tuned. So the next region I want to talk about is the Northeast, and this is our top story for the day. As you can see, Winter Storm Orlena is working its way up the coast. It brought over a foot of snow to places in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York yesterday, and it's just going to continue to bring snow to the upper parts of New England throughout the day today as that low moves up and spreads some heavy snow into Maine throughout the day today. Winds are also a factor. I'll be showing that in a second. That's why major impacts are forecasted for this storm. It's because we're mixing this heavy snow amount with some extreme winds. Now, don't take my word for it. We'll look at the Winter Storm Severity Index to see how strong this storm is expected to be, who it's going to continue to affect. You can see basically the entire Northeast still in that limited impacts region. Where we get the moderate impacts are in New York, Vermont, and then Maine. And then if we zoom into Maine, you can see where we're still expected to get major impacts. So for the majority of the Northeast, the major impacts are behind us. Where we still might have some major impacts are in Maine as we mix in over a foot of snow to come with some 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. But for the most part, some of our populated areas around New York and New Jersey, you guys have already picked up your snow and your extreme wind with this one. Now it's moving up into farther up into New England. So if we want to take another look at this, we can see the pattern that's driving this. There's Winter Storm Orlena. And if you're a snow lover in the Northeast, you actually got kind of lucky with this one because the original model had this low moving off into the Atlantic, and only Massachusetts was picking up snow with this. Pennsylvania, New York, you were lucky to get an inch. But because this low decided to move right along the coast, places in Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey were able to pick up a foot. And then, like I said, there's still a foot to come as we work into this afternoon and tonight, and it moves up into Maine. Now, there is one other thing to note when it comes to the Northeast. So that system, Winter Storm Orlena, is finally going to be gone. We won't have to worry about that anymore. And then this new system is going to start moving in. Now, this is a ways off in the forecast for the Northeast, so take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt, but it is interesting to point out what's going to be happening to this low that is currently over California. Moves into the center parts of the country, brings in some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, brings down some cold air, hits the Midwest, and then as of right now, it looks like it's going to bring some snow to the Northeast. But you can see it's taking a northern track into Canada. So what we'll have to keep our eye on as we get into Friday is if this does end up taking a northern track or if it just goes straight east, which is where we could get some major impacts with this one. As of right now, looks like we're just getting a dusting of the arm of this low pressure system working into Friday and Saturday morning. But we'll have to keep our eye on that because that's certainly something interesting. And to see it another way, that's that system right there. Moving, you can see it goes up north. Now, to get really far in the forecast, this is the biggest thing that could happen in the next week or two. This whole system, it looks like it's no exciting weather. We're basically flat isobars right here. It's going to have a major strengthening, or it could have a major strengthening, 35 to 40 degrees below average, and that looks like a strong system right there. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. Again, that's next Monday, so that's a ways off in the forecast there. So looking back to what's going on right now and what's actually likely to happen, let's see Winter Storm Orlena as it continues to move up through the Northeast. Let's zoom in here so we can really talk about what's going on with this storm. You can see, because of the circulation around a low, we're pushing in that moisture right into Maine as we get into this afternoon. And then on the left side, we're pulling that cold air down. So majority of the Northeast below freezing as we get into this afternoon. And that's where you mix the moisture, mix the cold air. Lots of snow for Maine. You can see major impacts still expected in parts of the Northeast. So let's actually just take a look at the precipitation. You can see that's the low early this morning as it moved up the coast. And then as we work into this afternoon, that's where we are still getting some snow throughout New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. But the major impacts are in Maine, where we have some heavy snowfall rates, maybe 0.1 to 0.2 inches per hour. As we work into tonight and early Wednesday morning, that's where this low Winter Storm Orlena has finally moved off. We're getting some light snow, maybe some lake effect, some lingering effects of Orlena, but then that's gone throughout the day Thursday. Now, that next one to think about could be coming in Friday. As of right now, New York, Pennsylvania could be picking up some 0.1 to 0.2 inches per hour of snowfall rates, then moving into Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, up into Maine. And then let's see if we can see the second part of that system right there. That's the big one that we're going to have to keep our eye on as we get into Sunday and Monday. If that ends up doing what the models are showing right now, that could end up being a major snowstorm moving in Sunday, Monday for the Northeast. That could drop possibly another foot of snow to some locations. But again, I'm not going to say that's going to happen because that's next Sunday, Monday, and I don't really trust a forecast more than 3 days out. So let's just look at what we're expected to get throughout the rest of the day today. You can see Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, select portions of New York and Pennsylvania for that matter. 6 to 8 inches for the most part. Some locations could still be getting another 10 to 12 inches. The major impacts, again, are up in Maine, where we're likely to see some locations over a foot, and basically the entire state is covered in at least 6 to 8 inches of snow. And actually, New Hampshire is getting some good snow with that one as well. 6 to 8 inches throughout the majority of New Hampshire with the lingering effects of Winter Storm Orlena. So let's actually dive into what's going on with the winds, because I mentioned that earlier, but that might be the biggest part of the storm because we're mixing all that snow that fell with 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, especially as we get into this afternoon. That's where the system starts to move up into Maine. So we're going to be dropping a foot of snow into Maine while we have 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. Now what that does, all that wind just kicks up all that snow we're getting, and it leads to basically zero visibility. I'm actually a little surprised we don't have a blizzard warning in the area because that is extreme wind, 50 to 60 mile per hour. And that will be sticking around throughout the day today. By Wednesday morning, it looks like it's going to ease up. So it's still gusty, 25 mile per hour wind gusts, but that's where it starts to ease up. And then Pennsylvania, actually working into Thursday, looks like it has some extreme winds as that other little system starts to push in. So let's look at a more localized look at what's going on. You can see early this morning we were still picking up some snow in southern New England, and there's lingering effects throughout the day today. Even getting into this evening, could be getting some light snow throughout your area. But for the most part, not much going on there until that next little system possibly hidden Friday at 1 p.m. As of right now, it looks like it's going to be bringing in warm air and moisture, which will bring rain to the coastal locations, snow more inland and for Massachusetts. But we'll have to keep our eye on that one. So how much snow are we expected to continue to pile up over the next 24 hours? You can see parts of New York getting maybe 6 to 8 inches. Massachusetts, possibly another foot to come. And then New York City, you have another 2 to 4 inches left with this storm, and you most likely already picked up a majority of that early this morning. Where we still have the majority of the snowfall still to come is up into Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So let's take a look as we get into early this morning. That's where you started to feel the snow basically covering the whole region. As we work into 1 p.m., that's where the storm starts to strengthen. That's where it's really pushing in moisture, pulling down that cold air, and Maine gets some 0.2 to 0.5 inches per hour of snowfall and some heavy snow throughout basically the entire state. Now, as we move into 1 a.m. on Wednesday, that's where Orlena finally starts to ease up. We get light snow in select locations, but for the most part, that's done. So let's see how much snow we're actually going to be getting throughout the day today. So starting early this morning, and as we work into tonight, tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, this is what's expected to fall in upper New England. You can see parts of Vermont, 6 inches, parts of New Hampshire, 6 to 8 inches. Basically all of Maine is in that 6 to 8 inch range, with select locations seeing a foot of snow. Now the thing to remember there is that we're mixing that snow with 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. So that's why we have some major impacts over that area. Something to keep your eye on, and make sure to stay updated with all the local resources there. So overall, let's just do a summary of the forecast going on across the country. The top story that we just talked about was Winter Storm Orlena moving up the East Coast, dropping another foot into Maine, 6 to 8 inches in New Hampshire, mixed with 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. And that was dropping some last little bits of snow for the mid-Atlantic as well. Then in the west, we have this system over us right now, bringing some rain and snow. And then there's going to be a little second wind with that system where it strengthens again, gives us another little burst of heavy rain and snow, but then moves through quickly. Then that whole system is going to move into the center of the country, drop some snow to the plains. Then it starts to pull in some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, pull down that cold air from the Arctic, strengthens, and hits the Midwest right there. Then it's going to continue to pull in moisture, and that's where this whole arm starts to stretch out and drops rain all the way from Texas up into Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, as the upper parts of the Midwest get some snow. Now that wave of rainfall is just going to move across the region, as the upper parts of the Midwest and Northeast are likely to see some snow with that as we work into Thursday and Friday afternoon. Then the big thing to watch, I'll end with some speculation of what's to come. That whole system was almost had a second wind behind it where as of right now, it looks like it's going to strengthen and could possibly turn into a major storm as we get into later parts of the weekend and the start of next week. That's the big story that we're going to have to continue to follow as the forecast models get more confident. So lots to talk about today, lots to talk about tomorrow, and it looks like lots to talk about for the next week as this system gets more confident in the forecast models and we see what actually happens with that. Could we have another major snowstorm for the Northeast Sunday, Monday? What's expected to happen in the West? Are we going to get another little system piling in behind? That's why I like weather. There's always something to talk about. So I hope whatever the weather is in your area, you're enjoying it and you have a nice day today. And thank you for watching.